have some housekeeping items to discuss. First, I want to note that we have two state board members on the call, Sue Burr and Ting Sun, and welcome to our meeting. And we'd like to welcome everyone here today, presenting, and the commissioners and public. And just to go over some housekeeping things, March 12th, 2020, the Governor Newsom issued an executive order related to COVID-19 pandemic. The executive order allows state bodies covered by the Bagley-Keene Open Act to hold public meetings covered by the act via web conferencing and audio conferencing. As such, this October meeting today will be held via the format of video conferencing and audio conferencing. The meeting will continue to be broadcast live and can be accessed through the ACCS meeting broadcast. During our commissioners' deliberation today, I will call on each commissioner by name. Please use the raise the hand feature in Zoom if you wish to be recognized to speak, commissioners, or insert the process. Okay, and then please make sure that your computers are muted at all times unless you are speaking. All votes today will be taken by a roll call vote. Now, members of the public who wish to make a comment today may dial 712-432-0075 and use access code 651905 when prompted to call in for a given item for the general public. Upon dialing in, callers will be added to a caller queue. The operator will notify the callers when it is their turn to provide public comment. Public comment will be limited to 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to dial in for public comment should view the live stream of the meeting. The number and access code will be provided before the start of public comment for each item. Prior to making public comment, speakers who are watching the meeting by a live webcast should make sure the volume of the computer is muted to avoid any echoing or feedback sounds during the call. Okay? At this time, we are going to have the flag salute. Stephanie, would you be able to lead us in a flag salute?
Okay. I'm feeling a little awkward because I'm at my dining room table. All right, ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to call on the commissioners to introduce themselves and let us know who they represent. My name is Wes Sever, and I'm representing school district superintendents. Stephanie?
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Farland, and I'm representing the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman.
Thank you. Mike?
Mike Walsh, I'm representing school boards.
Jared?
Jared Austin, I represent parents and guardians.
Gail?
Gail Garbalina Mojica, I represent County Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. Esau?
Esau Baruman, I represent charter schools.
Thank you. Erica?
Good morning. Erica Jones, I represent teachers.
Cameron?
Cameron Curry, and I represent charter schools.
Thank you. Brent?
Brent Wilding, I represent teachers.
Okay. Thank you very much, and welcome commissioners. At this time, we're going to review and call for an adoption of the meeting notes from June 2020 ACCS meeting.
I move adoption. This is Gail Garbalina Mojica.
Thank you, Gail. We have a motion.
Cameron with a second.
And we have a second from Cameron. At this time, we will do a roll call vote. Jared?
Yes.
Esau?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Gil?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
I vote yes. Brent?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing unanimously passed, we will move forward. And I just want to advise members of the public who wish to make general public comment to call in at this time. Dial 712-432-0075. Use access code 651-905#. If you wish to make general public comment regarding an item that's not part of the ACCS agenda at this time. Okay, right now, Stephanie, do you have a report from the Charter Schools Division? Do you have an update?
Sure. Thank you, Wes. Good morning, everyone. I just want to give a quick update of the work that we're doing in the Charter Schools Division. We continue to work on implementation measures for AB 1505 in anticipation of appeals that will come to us. We are planning on providing a training to the State Board of Education at their November meeting around 1505. And we'll also be planning a training to this commission in December at their December meeting. So that we're also continuing our work on regulations. Those are still slated to come to the state board at their January meeting. So that's a lot of the work we're doing right now is around that. And changes that this commission will see, things that might look different in the next several months. Obviously, appeals will be coming to us. Now, we have not received any, and we didn't receive any by the September deadline, which means we won't have any appeals in November or January for state board. So the first time we'll hear an appeal, if one comes in, which I'm guessing it will by that time, would be at the ACCS February meeting. Will be the first time that we'll have appeals. So it's been quite a break, I think, as the local level is going through renewals and establishment reviews right now. Remember that 1505 added in extra time for the review at the local level. So now instead of 60 days of review, they have 90 days, which sort of pushes out when they can actually get to the state board if they need to appeal the decision at the local level. So that's why we're not really seeing any this fall. Those review periods are extended both at the district level and at the county level on appeal. So the first time we'll see some appeals will be in February. Another change that happened really quite late in the process, and that is Senate Bill 820, which was signed by the governor, I believe, on September 18th. And Section 75 of Senate Bill 820, if you're interested in going to take a look at it, Section 75 pertains to non-classroom-based charters funding. And what this part of the bill did was it extended the deadline for charter schools to submit their funding renewal requests. Normally, they have to submit by February 1. It extended the time period to June 30th for 2021 and 2022. And those non-classroom-based schools that are up for renewal for their funding requests, not for their petition, but for their funding request in 2021 or 2022 will automatically receive their current level of funding for 2 years. This was done really in the hopes of making sure that they're not harmed because of all with the ADA not being counted this year. There were a lot of issues in the charter community and a lot of concerns in the charter community about whether their funding levels would remain constant. And so this part of the bill, this part of 820 really allows that to happen. So they will receive their current funding determination amount, which for almost all the schools is 100% currently. We have one school at 85%, but all the other schools at 100%. So they'll receive their 100% funding level for 2 years. And then they'll come back and we're hoping by that time we're back to normal and we can proceed with funding determination requests as we currently do. So that means for this board or for this commission and for the state board, they will not be seeing those funding requests because it's an automatic renewal for 2 years at their current funding level. That doesn't mean you won't be seeing any. Obviously, we have schools that are coming into compliance with geographic restrictions on place. So you may still see some. It won't be the same amount that you've seen in the past, at least for the next couple of years. We also have the ability, as you know, through regulations to call back any school that we see are having issues or that might, for any reason that we deem, that CDE deems necessary to bring them back. We could call schools back and have them come before the commission and board. But right now, based on Senate Bill 820 that was signed, most of the charter schools that are up for renewal for the next 2 years will get an automatic 2-year approval for their current funding level. So that's a big change in terms of the work that this commission will see. But don't worry, you'll be super busy working on appeals for the next couple of years. So it's not as if all of your work is going away. And I think that's it, Wes.
Hey, thank you very much, Stephanie. A lot of things going on right now, a lot of things. And so appreciate that. At this time, I want to give an opportunity. Does the state board member, Ting or Sue, I don't think Sue's on the line, but Ting, do you have any comments at this time? If not, I will take that as a no.
Sorry, no, I don't. I was trying to take myself off of mute. No comments at this time. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely, and thank you for being here. Okay, at this time, we're going to, for this meeting agenda, we have 2 items, a retroactive funding determination request from 3 non-classroom-based charter schools, and then item 2 is a retroactive funding determination request with reasonable basis mitigated circumstances from 1 charter school. So right now, we're going to move on to general public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for general public comment at this time?
We do not have any general public comment in the queue right now.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna move forward with item number 1, consideration of retroactive request for determination of funding as required for non-classroom-based charter schools pursuant to California Ed Code 47612.5 and 47634.2 and associated California Code Regulations Title 5. Anyone wishing to make comment on this item should call in at this time. Dial 712-432-0075 and use code 651905 when prompted. Upon dialing, you'll be placed in a queue. The operator will notify callers when it's their turn to provide public comment. And so at this time, can we please hear from CDE?
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Severin, members of the Commission. My name is McKenna Huey, and I am representing the Charter Schools Division. I will be presenting both items on today's meeting agenda. So as was previously stated, item 1 consists of retroactive requests for determination of funding for 3 renewing non-classroom-based charter schools. The 3 charter schools are as follows: Guajome Learning Center, Horizon Charter, and Loma Vista Charter. So retroactive requests refer to determination of funding requests submitted after the regulatory deadline. For existing non-classroom-based charter schools, this deadline is February 1 of the fiscal year prior to the year the school's current funding determination expires. So all schools presented in this item failed to submit their funding determination request for renewal by February 1. As such, they will require to obtain a waiver from the State Board of Education, permitting them to submit a funding determination request after the deadline. So waivers were submitted for all 3 schools and were approved by the State Board of Education at its July 2020 meeting. So upon the State Board of Education's approval of the waivers, the CDE reviewed each school's request for a determination of funding. In order to receive 100% funding for non-classroom-based instruction, charter schools are required to meet the following criteria, which are also detailed on this slide. spend at least 40% of its public revenues on instructional certificated salaries and benefits, spend at least 80% of its total revenues on instruction and instruction-related services, and maintain a pupil-to-teacher ratio that does not exceed 25:1, or an equivalent pupil-to-teacher ratio of the largest unified school district in the county or counties in which the charter school operates. Based upon CDE staff's review, Horizon Charter and Loma Vista Charter meet the criteria for 100% determination of funding. Guajome Learning Center does not meet the criteria to be eligible for 100% funding, as it did not spend at least 80% of its total revenues on instruction and instruction-related services. So instead, this school qualifies for a funding determination of 85%. Each school's exact spending percentages and pupil-teacher ratio information is provided in attachment 1 of this item. Detailed information regarding each school's respective revenues and expenditures can be found in their funding determination forms, which have been provided as attachments 2 through 4. So for an existing non-classroom-based charter school, regulations state that an approved funding determination shall be for a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 5 years in length. It is the CDE's current practice to propose a funding determination period of 3 years for non-classroom-based charter schools that are seeking renewal of their funding determination for the first time, and a period of 4 years for non-classroom-based charter schools that have gone through the renewal of their funding determination 1 or more times. All schools presented in this item have gone through this renewal process 1 or more times. So in conclusion, the CDE proposes to recommend that the State Board of Education approve the determination of funding requests for Horizon Charter and Loma Vista Charter at 100% for 4 years, and a determination of funding request for Guajome Learning Center at 85% for 2 years, which was the time period requested by the charter school. Thank you for your consideration of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate your report. At this time, commissioners, are there any questions? Gail has a question. Her hand is raised. Will you go ahead, Gail?
Yes, thank you. McKenna, I have one procedural question and then a substantive question. My procedural question is, when the State Board of Education approved the waiver, was that then basically they approved this funding determination for the 3 charter schools? So is it already a done deal, or do they have to resubmit now to the State Board of Education to have them approve this recommendation?
So the waiver was to waive the regulatory deadline, which they missed. So now that they have permission to submit after February 1st, they then have to go through the regular funding determination process. So these funding determinations still need to be approved by the State Board.
Okay, so I appreciate that. That was a point of clarification. I appreciate that. My second question is, these are pretty routine. And I don't think, I've been on the commission a couple of years, and I don't think I've had a retroactive funding determination, and it was due by February 1st. That was before all this pandemic craziness hit. Was there a reason why these charter schools failed to meet a February 1st deadline, which is pretty routine?
Yes, and those reasonings were explained in the waiver item that was approved at the July State Board meeting. These funding determinations did get pushed back quite a bit. I mean, we didn't have an August ACCS meeting, so I mean, that's kind of why you're seeing these so late.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Erica?
Yes, thanks. So with us approving beyond when the charter expires, is that because of SB 820?
Not necessarily. I mean, the funding determination timeline is separate from the renewal timelines. So a charter school may submit a renewal funding determination like during the year that their charter is set to expire. However, there is no real added risk by approving a non-classroom-based funding determination period longer than the charter school's actual term. Because, you know, if a charter school is not renewed and if it's closed down, they wouldn't receive any funding from us regardless of their funding determination status.
Okay, and then I have a couple of other questions, but I think part of it will probably be in deliberations. Do we have any sort of oversight as far as the reserves? Because I think I had a couple of red flags with these, that the reserves were so high, and just wondering what kind of oversight do we have as far as making sure these funds are going to students? Do we have any?
Can I jump in for a quick second? So sometimes so the answer is that if for some reason do not meet the funding criteria for 100%, can you hear me? Okay. Says my internet connection is unstable. If they don't meet the funding determination request for 100%, then we can look into why their reserves are so high. I know that some of these schools have high reserves, but at least 2 of them have met the funding criteria, the criteria to fund them at 100%. I think we don't have any oversight of these schools really at all in terms of their actual existence. So if there are serious issues about a school that somebody sees that is not tied to the funding request criteria that we look at, we can certainly notify their authorizer that there may be something going on at the school that they should look into for sure. But in terms of oversight of their large reserves, we do ask for explanations for them, and we get it. And I believe we got explanations for these schools, correct, McKenna?
Yes, so there is a section of the funding determination form where charter schools are asked to explain some of their reserves. So that is in the forms that are made available on the agenda.
Thank you, Erica. Let's move on to Cameron. You had some questions?
Yeah, McKenna, my question was, I think I heard you say right at the end of your presentation, I just wanted clarity on, for Guajome Park, they were okay with the 85% and they actually requested that?
Yes, that is correct. They requested 85% for 2 years.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cameron. I appreciate all the questions from the commissioners. I don't have any at this time. Esau, you have a question?
Yes, actually, I was wondering, you mentioned that if you see kind of any kind of red flags or any kind of pink flags or any kind of whatever color flags, for right angle, I'm looking at the one for Horizon Charter, I believe, and that right angle expenditure for $445,000 going to a public relations firm. Do we get to ask what's the reasoning for that expense? I was trying to figure out what percent of that total budget is $445,000. That's a big chunk of change right there. Do we get to ask, or do we get to say, hey, can you look into this and call their authorizer and check it out, or what exactly is going on? I'm trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, so we definitely can ask for additional information to support their funding determination. Regulations does permit that. For that specific expense, at this time, we have not asked for additional information, but that's something that we definitely can do.
Because I'm trying to understand why. I looked up right angle. Maybe it's the wrong right angle, but it looks like a boutique public relations firm. I'm trying to understand, why they would need to spend that kind of money on a public relations firm, a boutique public relations firm.
We're happy to look into anything you'd like us to look into further, Esau, for sure. And we can follow up with the school if you'd like, and report out to you why they needed to use that amount of money for a public relations firm, and we're happy to do that. And then the key thing is that actually makes a difference in what their submitted in terms of their funding determination levels. I don't know if that would make a difference or not. And if it's something that seems out of place or hinky, I guess, technical term, we can certainly follow up with their authorizer.
Perfect. Thank you very much for taking care of that, Stephanie. Appreciate it. And that would be kind of an interesting, just to let the authorizer know, because they're the ones that would ultimately do something about it and question those expenses. So, okay. Jared, do you have a question?
I do. So my question is if we approve these, they would also be approved automatically again, at least for Guahomie, who's getting a 2-year. So is that correct under the SB 820 bill, as they would be an automatic renewal?
Yes, so per Senate Bill 820, that is correct. However, also in that section, it does state that the charter school or the CDE, we may request that the ACCS and the state board consider a different funding percentage pursuant to regulations.
Got it. That was my second question. So you said Guahomie was okay with 85% and actually requested that for now, but they could come back asking for 100% at the next, whenever they meet that criteria, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Regulations permit charter schools to come back and request a different amount of funding.
Thank you.
And then I think, Cameron, did you still have a final question?
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
All right, no worries. At this point, thank you for the deliberation, the questions from the commissioners. Can we entertain a motion? Or hold on a second. Before we move on, is there any public comment about this item?
Yes, we do have public comment for this item.
Okay.
Good morning, caller. Did you wish to make comment for item 1?
Yes.
Please state your name and affiliation for the record. Your time starts now.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kaina Collins, and I'm a veteran charter educator here on behalf of the California Teachers Association. CTA continues to be concerned with the lack of oversight that occurs with non-classroom-based charters. While we understand that the Act plays a limited role in the process, there is still a need for stronger fiscal oversight regarding the determination funding requests that are reviewed and then sent to the State Board of Education for approval. CTA appreciates that the CD has posted these forms with the agenda, but as outlined in our letter, we have significant concerns with the amount of reserves, business dealings between related non-classroom-based charters, and an overall lack of oversight beyond an honor system. While some level of reserve is fiscally prudent given these times, having anywhere between 41.4% of total expenditures in reserve to 159.6% in reserve is extremely troubling. These dollars should be spent to provide supports and services to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Next caller, please state your name and affiliation for the record. Your time starts now.
My name is Dr. Linda Scott, and I'm calling in for item 2. I apologize. I didn't know how it worked.
No problem. We will take you to the queue and connect with you for item 2. Thank you. Good morning, caller. Did you wish to make public comment for item 1? Looks like this concludes public comment for item 1 at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate the information we received from the public. And if there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, would anybody like to entertain a motion?
This is Cameron. I will make the motion to support the CD's recommendations as stated.
Okay, thank you, Cameron.
I will second the motion.
Okay, and who was that?
That is Mike Walsh.
Mike. Okay, thank you, Mike. So we have a first and a second to approve the recommendations from CDE. At this time, we will do, is there any other discussion at this time? Okay, let's move forward with a roll call vote. Jared?
Yes.
Esau?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Erica?
No.
Brent?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So this item is forwarded with a vote for 8-1. Okay, thank you. Now we're going to be moving on to item number 2, consideration of retroactive request for determination of funding with reasonable mitigating circumstances required for non-classroom-based charter schools pursuant to California Education Code 47612.5 and 47634.2 and the California Code of Regulations Title 5. People wishing to make a comment on item number 2 should call in at this time. To make comment, dial 712-432-0075 and use access code 651905# when prompted. Upon dialing in, callers will be added to the caller queue. The operator will notify callers when it's their turn to provide public comment. Public comment will be limited to 1 minute per speaker. McKenna from CDE, would you like to present the item?
Yes, thank you very much. So, as previously stated, item 2 consists of a retroactive request for a determination of funding with mitigating circumstances for W.E.B. Du Bois Public Charter. So as I mentioned in the previous item, retroactive requests refer to determination of funding requests submitted after the regulatory deadline. So W.E.B. Du Bois Public Charter did not submit its funding determination request for renewal by the February 1st deadline. As such, they were required to obtain a waiver from the state board, permitting them to submit a request after. The school's waiver was approved by the SDE at its July 2020 meeting. So once an approved waiver was obtained, the CDE reviewed the school's request for a termination of funding and found that it does not meet the criteria for 100% funding. The criteria for full funding is outlined on this slide for your reference. The school's exact spending percentages and pupil-teacher ratio information can be found in attachment 1 of this item. Detailed information regarding the school's revenues and expenditures can be found in its funding determination form, which is provided as attachment 2 of this item. So regulations permit this commission to find a reasonable basis or mitigating circumstance by which to make a recommendation other than one that results from the expenditure criteria specified. As such, if a charter school does not meet the designated spending criteria, the charter school can submit mitigating circumstances for consideration. These circumstances may include documented data regarding individual circumstances of the charter school or one-time expenses or unique or exceptional expenses. Without a reason of mitigating circumstances, a charter school's funding rate may be reduced from 100% to 85%, 70%, or may be denied at 0%. So as this school did not meet the criteria to receive full funding, they submitted mitigating circumstances for consideration. The school cites as their mitigating circumstances the need to expend a considerable amount of revenues on facilities, as well as a decrease in non-classroom-based ADA caused by a campus closure, which resulted from the Anderson versus Shasta court decision. So additional details regarding their request for mitigating circumstances is provided in the item. So again, as mentioned in the previous item, for an existing non-classroom-based charter school, regulations state that an approved funding determination shall be for a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 5 years. Although typically the CDE recommends a period of 3 to 4 years for a renewing non-classroom-based charter school, when considering funding determinations with mitigating circumstances, the CDE generally proposes a funding determination period of 2 fiscal years, and this 2 years permits the CDE to revisit a school's funding in a more timely manner, as well as to ensure that the school is meeting the spending requirements outlined in regulations. So in conclusion, the CD has determined that the information submitted by W.E.B. Du Bois Public Charter supports its claim for mitigating circumstances. Therefore, the CDE proposes to recommend that the SBE approve the school's request for consideration of mitigating circumstances and approve the determination of funding request for 100% funding for a time period of 2 years as specified in Attachment 1. So thank you again for your consideration of this item, and I am happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Thank you very much, McKenna. At this time, do any of the Commissioners have questions for the CDE? Esau?
Yes, actually, I'm just looking at the rent W.E. Du Bois is paying for Agape LLC.
We lost. Go ahead. Can you repeat that? We lost you.
Okay, so just looking at the rent that W.E. Du Bois is paying, $516,460. Just trying to figure out is that the going rate in Fresno, and what kind of building is that? Because I could see that price in L.A. County. Maybe it's a huge campus. And then I'm looking at a W.E. Du Bois. I just did a public, Google search, and it's under the Agape name too. So I'm just trying to, and then the letter from CTA, just kind of having questions, trying to understand that whole dealings of where that 550 and why it's 516 and why it's so high. And I wonder if that's something that could be looked at, or let their authorizer know or something.
That's definitely something that we can further look into and or notify their authorizer about.
Yeah, with that, I just want to tell you that with ESA, I do have the same concern, and I don't know how. Apparently they have a bad, a lease deal, or where they've closed the school and they're still having to pay for this lease. If somebody can help them out, because that's a lot of money, and if they are not making their funding determination because of paying for a building, there must be a way to let that go. Whether bankruptcy or filing through court or getting out of that agreement, somebody needs to help them with that. But if all they're doing is hanging on to it because it's under the Agape, and Agape is receiving, if an Agape is receiving revenue that they don't want to lose because of this charter school, having to also pay them for a lease agreement, that needs to stop somehow. And it's a concern for me as well.
So just to clarify, the school is still obligated to that building lease through 2021. The school is working or plans to renegotiate costs on that facility when the lease expires in 2021.
Okay, that helps. Thank you very much. Erica, did you have a question?
Yes, thanks. I mean, Esau brought up much of my concern. I'm also just a little concerned about the with Agape, and then you also have charter members of Du Bois on the Agape's board as well. So I'm just trying to see, it just seems that they want the state to basically help them out of this horrible lease program they have. However, I do have some red flags about the lease being with Agape as well. So I just had some concerns with that. I didn't know if we had any other clarity. And also just the fact that they had a carryover of $823,000 that is now part of their reserves, then bumping the reserves up to basically $930,000. I just had a couple of concerns. I don't necessarily know if we have clarity around that, but I just wanted to voice my concerns.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions by commissioners. At this time, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do have public comment for item 2.
Thank you.
Caller, good morning. Please state your name and affiliation for the record. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Kaina Collins, and I'm a veteran charter educator here on behalf of the California Teachers Association. CTA would like to reiterate our general comments on item 1 regarding non-classroom-based charters. In regards to W.E.B. Du Bois Charter, their item states on page 3 of the item that the school cites as mitigating circumstances the need to expend a considerable amount of revenues on facilities and a decrease in NCB ADA caused by a campus closure resulting from the Anderson case. Based on their funding form, it appears on page 5 that at least a part of the considerable amount of revenues on facilities was a transfer of funds, $516,000, from the charter to the Agape LS LLC, which is a partnership involving their CMO. This, coupled with the fact that the charter's board members are on the same CMO, raises a question of whether these are truly mitigating circumstances beyond their control. CTA believes that these dollars should be used to provide supports and services for students, not to instead be used to pad reserves or grow a CMO's land holdings. Thank you.
Stressing that out too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next
It's actually like a mutual thing.
Yeah, I think that really helps, doesn't it? I hope you guys do this more often.
Next caller, please state your name and affiliation for the record. Your time starts now. Good morning, caller from Fresno. Did you wish to make a public comment for item 2? Good morning, Mr. Premack. Did you wish to make a public comment at this time?
No, thanks.
At this point, we have no other callers in the queue. I'm going to check in one more time with our caller from Fresno who appeared to call in earlier for item 2. Good morning, caller. Did you wish to make a public comment? At this time, we have no other public comment callers in the queue.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the comments from the public and the information presented. At this time, if there's, I don't know if the commissioners have any other further discussion or comments, but at this time, would anyone like to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve CDE's recommendation.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Jared to recommend for CDE's recommendation.
I'll second.
Mike seconded for the funding determination.
That was Brent.
Oh, sorry, Brent. Okay, that was Brent. All right, Brent's making a motion to second the recommendation to approve the funding determination from CDE. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead for a roll call vote. Jared.
Yes.
Esau.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Gil.
Yes.
Erica.
No.
I vote yes. Brent.
Yes.
And Mike.
Yes.
Okay, the funding determination moves forward as approved with an 8-1 vote. And at this time, we want to thank the commissioners and CDE for their presentations and the information presented this time, and we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a great couple months. We'll see you soon.